In this graphic we have a 75 kilobyte JPEG file. It's a 3-color image, and we're going to begin by cleaning this up. We've loaded that image in. We're going to come to our separate colors, and we're going to use the automatic, let graphic tracer automatically detect the colors, where we can see we have the gold, the red, and the blue. And we're going to process those colors, converting them to pure color. And once we've processed those colors, we'll come up and we're going to create vectors. And there's my initial trace, which isn't too bad of a trace, but if I zoom in on it, you can see here that the stars aren't perfect, and you can see the text is a little on the rough side too, and the rectangles and everything is not perfect. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to begin cleaning this up. I'm going to come over with the Identify Font and Replace selected. I'm going to just draw a box around the word Eagle Pro, and we're going to go to Identify Font and Replace, and Graphic Tracer automatically detects the baseline, so it's straight line text. And I choose Next, and you can see Graphic Tracer then, the optical character recognition, tries to determine what those letters are, and we've got a few of them right, so I need to go through and visually verify and check. So we're going to start with the capital E, and we're going to highlight the A and type that in. We'll use our tab key to tab us to the next key, G, L, and now notice here it's got a number 1. Sometimes Graphic Tracer has difficulty determining whether something is a 1, a lowercase l, or a capital I, so I need to tell it that that is a lowercase l. We type in an E, capital P, R, and an O. Once we have associated the letters, I come over here and I click Next, and Graphic Tracer will go through and it will search out, and you can see here it identified the font as a perfect match. Highlights it right on top of my initial trace. You can see the initial trace faintly behind here, and you can see what the font it selected looks like. And it says Zap Elliptical 711 bold italic. I'm unable to replace with that font though, because that's not a font that I own. We've got Zap Elliptical from Bitstream and unspecified, and now we're come down here. The one in green is one that I own, and so by selecting that, my replace button right down here highlights, and I'm able to replace that with just a click of my mouse. Now, if I don't have that font, however, oftentimes if you scroll down a little bit, you might see a font in gold, like this one right here. See, it's collection number 75921. Vectorized shapes. We have a collection of precision vector shapes built into Graphic Tracer, which we can use these if you don't have a font, if you don't own a font to replace with. Oftentimes you can clean up an image with that. So if I select that, you can see it's still very close, but you can see the G is not as good of a match as what the original font is. And also the top of the L here. But if that was the only font that you had, we could actually take this font, replace it, and then fine tune it once we replace it. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how we do this. Just going to click replace, and we've replaced with that. And once we've replaced, I'm going to zoom in. If I come up here to view and view settings, I'm going to come over here and click this box that says view bitmap, and that automatically turns the bitmap on in the background. Now with that bitmap turned on, I can go through and I can use my adjust shapes tool right there. And by selecting that, I can come in and say, like on the top of this lowercase l, I can take that and just fine tune that and make it match, moving stuff around a little bit. If I come over here to edit objects and I hold my control button down, I can click on that G, and you can see I've got the outside selected. You can see that node here. I'm going to click on these elements here. You can see I pick that up. There's a little node right there. And I click on this one right down here, and I've got the node here. So I've got all the elements of that G selected, and I've got little boundary boxes around here. I can choose this one right in the middle, and I can just nudge that up a little bit like that and make it match up to my original bitmap in the background. And that's how you easily go through and clean up an image with vectorized shapes and make it match. So you can see how nicely that looks as opposed to the rough trace that it had. Let's come over here and let's work on these stars. You can see these stars are not perfect, so I'm going to come over here to this adjust shapes, and when I select that star, click on that, you can see the nodes. I'm going to click on this node up at the top here, and I'm going to hold my control button down and a node right here, and it selects all the nodes between those points, and I'm going to convert those nodes to a curve like so. And I'm going to come over to this one here and do the same thing. I'll click on that and we'll convert those to a curve as well. Now, As I mentioned before, if you want to eliminate nodes, you can take it, just select a node, hit delete on your keyboard. Red lines are curves and green lines are straight lines, and you can toggle these by just double clicking on them. You can see how I turn those into a straight line. If I hold my space bar down, I can see my original bitmap in the background, and I can use that as a guide as I go through and kind of fine tune this star and make it look just how I want to make it look. And just by adjusting these a little bit, and we'll just kind of tweak that in a little bit. Now once I have an angle that I like, I will choose this node right here, hold my control button down and this node right over here, and by selecting that angle I can now come over here to mirror symmetrically, and I can clean up all those angles with one click of my mouse. With that star selected at this point, I can come to edit objects, hold my control button down, and I'm selecting that star, and I'm going to come over here to replace objects, and I'm going to use this copy shape to an object. And with that tool selected, I merely come through and I click on each of these stars like so. You can see when it highlights preview, and we're just going to come through very quickly, and we will clean up each of these stars with just a click. Like so. We'll quickly clean those up. I can also go through and do the same thing in cleaning up this eagle. I'm going to hold my control button down and we're going to click on that eagle. I can see that I have that selected right here. I'll click on this intersection here, pick that up. And while I'm at it, I'm going to click on each of these little elements right here and pick up the rest of that eagle. And now I'm going to come over here to my adjust shapes where I've got an auto cleanup feature, and with that auto cleanup feature I'm just going to drag that across. When I release my mouse I can see how it measures up to my original in the background, and so if I just adjust that to where I like it and click apply, and we'll view that back in its fill. And you can see just what we have here. You can see how much nicer that is. You can see there's the nodes that are cleaned up on that. And that looks good. The last thing we have is this circle. You can see it's not a perfect circle, so I'm going to come to my replace objects, convert to circle or ellipse. And if I hold my control button down when I click on that circle, it makes it into a perfect 4-point circle. I didn't clean up these rectangles yet, so we're going to use this convert to square or rectangle, and I will do the same thing with each of these, clicking on each of these rectangles. And there we have completed cleaning up that graphic. At this point we jump right over here to save, click on the save, and we can export that as an EPS, an AI, DXF, or PLT, or SVG. Or I can one click bring it right into CorelDRAW, Illustrator, or SignCut.